All systems go. Clear for liftoff. Here we go. It's week 12 and football every day continues. We still got a couple of weeks before that Thanksgiving slate. It has been a grind, but it's been so much fun looking up and seeing football on the screen every single day. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Ship It Nation week 12 college football breakdown analysis show. I'm Bill. Put a dollar in front of it. You'll find me on Discord and Twitter. And another great slate shaping up on Saturday. Before we get to it, I do want to mention again that we had this $199 for the rest of the NFL and college football season. You'll see the offer ends on November 10th, but that was just for the 555 drawing. So you can still get this $199 for the rest of the season for the football package. That includes, all the tools that we have on our website. It includes Saber Sim and, of course, the Ship It Games entry that is still going strong. We're still giving away golden Ship Its, multiple Ship Its a week. It's been a lot of fun, and it's going to continue to be fun because football is fun, and winning money at football is even better. But you know who's winning? Everybody at Ship It Nation. I forgot to put the screen share back up. There we go. Learning how to do this. It's week 12. I'm a novice. But even without that 555 draw, we got a ton of winners every single week. And I feel like it's a broken record. Death Taxes and Ranger getting a 5-digit Ship It. This is his 4 weeks in a row. NHL again. He also had a $2,000 chop in NBA to boot. So Rangers just been on a hot streak lately. Other big wins this week too. Y Guy with a 2K shipper in MMA. We had M Bellman with the $60,000 shipper up top. I mean, just another great week at the Nation. And you can get in the football package for $199 the rest of the season, or all access. Get all the sports. Why not? And if you just want to try it out, we still have that 5 days for $19 using the code SHIP19. We want to give you every opportunity that we can to experience Ship It and maybe see your name on this collage leaderboard. Why not? But let's jump into the college football slate. That's why we're here. I'm going to refresh my page quick because I think the lines have been updated. But we're going to start with South Carolina and Texas A&M. South Carolina is their first game without Mike Shula at offensive coordinator, so maybe there's something to that for DFS. But it's just a tough matchup against Texas A&M on the road. I don't think the Cox are going to be able to hang with the Aggies here. Lenore Sellers is cheap, so I think maybe you could take a look at him. He does have some upside. Maybe we get some new offensive schemes, or maybe they unleash him a little bit with the new OC. But even with his rushing upside, he did run against Bama and Oklahoma okay, but the sacks in the Oklahoma game still landed him with negative points in the rushing game. So I don't know if you can go there. He had 5.5 carries or 5.5 yards per carry if you omit the sacks. It's just, again, tough matchup. I don't want to say it again. That's what makes these videos go too long. I repeat myself. I ramble. But on the Texas A&M sides, I'm much more interested in that. Marcel Reese is too cheap, even at 8,400. He's been using his legs a lot more lately. 10 total touchdowns in the last 3 games. I don't think you need to overthink it. If he fits your build, it's a great spot for him. Ruben Owens coming off a monster 100-yard, 2-touchdown game. Been getting the lion's share of the work, and at only 5,500. Again, matchup. E.J. Smith has seen a steady snap count. Amari Daniels might work in. Especially, the biggest risk to Owens is like if Texas A&M gets up early using the passing game, and those backup running backs just get more run than we expect them to. But speaking of the passing game, Mario Craver on the injury report. 5,100, he's in a great spot if he goes. He hasn't had a touchdown since, I think, week 3. So he's definitely due. But without Craver, Casey Concepcion might be one of the best receiver play. Might be the best receiver play on the slate. But definitely up there with the best. And honestly, he might be one of the best receiver plays regardless. So you're playing these guys because of the matchup. If Craver goes down or doesn't play, it opens everything up for everybody else. Even like Bethel Roman and Bussy could get involved if Craver doesn't go. So definitely looking at the Texas A&M side here. Big blowout on paper anyway. Arizona and Cincinnati shaping up to be one of the better games on the slate. I just don't know how many locks there are. And they're like, how safe these guys are just with the way the usage has been. Noah Fafita gets most of his production through the air. At 7,100, I think if this game goes to script and they have to throw a lot, he could end up being one of the best quarterback plays on the slate too, just because he throws the ball 45 times. It could put up some big numbers at a pretty acceptable price for Fafita. The running back room, the Wildcats look good as far as team running. It's just a matter of which guy it's going to be. One week it's Craig, one week it's Madi, the other week it's Riscano. So they're all cheap enough for GPP. If you get the hot guy, then you're probably going to be sitting at the top of the leaderboard with a low-owned Arizona running back. In the wide receiver room, Chris Hudson getting a bunch of targets. If you want to stack Fafita, he's a solid option. Trey Spivey, a solid cheap option. He's been priced. The dude was getting like 2 catches a game, but one of them was going for a touchdown for a long time. Last week, he finally got more usage and an increased role, didn't score. His dud game was the one that he played the most. Chris Hunter is not on the report anymore, though. So if he's back, it just kind of waters down the rest of these guys. I mean, Watley's still out there. Hunter could be a guy in the 3Ks. But Hudson's still probably the main guy you're looking for. But like I said, maybe Spivey does better with Hunter back because he's not going to play as much. So they'll just throw to him in the end zone. On the Cincinnati side, Brennan Sorsby he continues to have a stellar year. Just had a down game in a tough road matchup against Utah the last time we saw these guys. Arizona's pass D looks good on paper, but it's a little bit skewed. They played Colorado, they played Oklahoma State, and even the BYU game because BYU ran for 260 yards. But even at 8,800, Sorsby's got that upside because of his rushing ability. And the passing gets spread out for the wide receivers. We'll get to that in a moment, but Sorsby's going to be the one throwing the ball to all of them. So at 8,800, decent spot. The running back room, Evan Pryor's questionable to play. Without him against Utah, nobody really stood out. But again, tough matchup. So I think Tally Walker's still in a great spot if Pryor doesn't go. If Pryor does go, maybe you can take a look at him. We might see Covey and Chance Williams. There's a chance we'll see Chance. I like that. If Evan Pryor doesn't go, but Walker would be the guy. If Pryor does go, I don't know how much of this running back room I'll get. In the wide receiver room, like I said, it gets spread out. But Cyrus Allen just has a knack for finding the end zone. It doesn't matter how many touches he's get. I mean, between him and Spivey on the other side, maybe just stack those two together and you might get 4 touchdowns. Caleb Goody and Isaiah Johnson are questionable. So if they can't go, that could help out with this usage being spread out. It might funnel a little bit more to the main guys like Allen, Joe Royer, Jeff Caldwell, Noah Jennings. If Goody doesn't go, Caldwell and Jennings would probably get the biggest bump. Like I said, there could be a lot of DFS points scored here. It's just a matter of how spread out those points are. It's hard to pinpoint what guy exactly it's going to be on either team, to be honest. That's why I think the safest plays are probably the quarterbacks on both sides. Notre Dame at Pittsburgh, the Giant Slayers. There's a chance we could see some rain and wind in this game, so weather could play a factor. And also, Pat Narduzzi said that he'd be fine if they lost 110-10 because it doesn't impact the conference standings. I don't know how to take that. Are we taking it as whatever, we can sleepwalk through this game and we can still make the ACC championship and win the thing and get to the playoff? Or is it, I'm going to say we're going to win 110 or lose 110-10, but I want that to motivate my guys. I don't know how I would feel as a player in that situation. Either way, Notre Dame, a pretty solid favorite here on the road. CJ Carr is at his lowest price since the second game of the season when he was $5K, and Notre Dame should be able to throw if they want to. Just a matter if they want to. Pitt's really only been able to shut down teams like Syracuse with no Steve Angeli and Boston College. So it sets up really well at a very acceptable price and probably a little bit too cheap for Carr. Holy price, by the way, Jeremiah Love, 10K. He's been 10K once, and I don't remember if he got there. It was close. It's just a lot of money to pay for one guy. But I don't know what you want me to say more about these guys than I have all year. I love Love, and I love Price's price. And again, Notre Dame can probably run. Pittsburgh has looked pretty good against the run, but again, what has their competition been? It's tough to really buy into this defense against a team like Notre Dame when they haven't faced a team like Notre Dame. The passing game, if we like Carr and we want to stack him, Jordan Faison's probably been the most consistent receiver on the team. But really any one of these guys is capable, these top 4 guys is capable of having a spike game. Fields, Pauling, even Raridon, who disappeared last game. Malachi Fields back in the 3Ks or down like in the 3,700, a cheap dude. Will Pauling, even at 4K, still could be the 2-touchdown guy. We've seen it before. Again, a good matchup for this wide receiver room, but it's tough to pick just one and figure out which guy it's going to be. On the Pitt side, Mason Heinschel, the true freshman, has had a pretty good run since taking over for Eli Holstein. But teams have shown they can throw on Notre Dame. But like at 8,500, we just talked about Marcel Reed a couple of games ago when Brendan Sorsby in the last game. Heinschel's kind of in that range. Which guy do you feel most comfortable with? That's what it's going to come down to. Do you like Heinschel in this matchup where he's probably going to be throwing a lot? Or do you go Marcel Reed, who's got the rushing upside? Brendan Sorsby's got the rushing upside. So it's really about how you want to play the game with this one. And maybe you get Heinschel at an ownership discount, and that's what sways you. Desmond Reed, we're not going to get an injury report for this game for Pitt because it's a non-conference game. Narduzzi says that Desmond Reed is healthy. How healthy is he? I don't know. They did have the bye week, so you think he had a little bit more recovery time. And I can't imagine they'd send him out there if nobody, like they say nobody's 100% at this point in the season, but they wouldn't send Reed out there if he wasn't good enough to go. But we could still see some Jakiron Turner even if he does. And with Desmond Reed, it doesn't matter if Pitt can't run the ball against Notre Dame because he's involved in the passing game enough. He could go for 8 catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown, and it wouldn't surprise me. So Reed at 5'8", again, a guy who was in the 8 and 9Ks all of last year when he played, just seems like a discounted price no matter who the matchup is. And then in this wide receiver room, if you like the passing game, it's still pretty much Kenny Johnson and Raphael Williams catching passes from Heinschel. Katoris Hicks has found some more usage lately, getting a little bit more of the target share, and he's basically min price. So I think you can take a look at him here. And then the other thing is that Sincere Lee has been getting back into the swing. He's only played 2 games now, but he saw an increased role from game 1 to game 2. So that could kind of water down this wide receiver room a little bit. But if Pitt's going to be throwing the ball a lot, Desmond Reed is still going to be involved in the passing game, but you could take a shot on one of these wide receivers, especially as a run back if you think they can keep it close. A game stack isn't out of the question here, even with a 12.5-point spread. Michigan at Northwestern. This game is being played at Wrigley Field, so we're going to be just off of Lake Michigan in November. Might be some wind. I don't know if it's going to matter much in this game anyway, because how much were these teams planning to throw? Bryce Underwood, he's been pretty underwhelming for the most part this year, but I think he does still have some rushing upside. And if it is going to be windy, maybe we see it here. In the running back room, no Justice Haynes. Jordan Marshall might be the best running back play on the slate. 7,100. He's going to get the lion's share of the workhorse numbers, but I feel like everybody else knows that too because he's had 428 yards and 5 touchdowns over the last 3 games. Not to mention he's got a few catches out of the backfield. Michigan loves to run the ball. They've always loved to run the ball. So I think Jordan Marshall is in an absolute just brilliant spot for the Wolverines. And then if you are playing the passing game, Andrew Marsh is probably the top option. McCulley's a little bit overpriced in my mind. Samaj Morgan's kind of disappeared. I don't think I'm going to go there in this one, especially with Michigan being the favorite. If they get up, they're going to run the ball even more. The Northwestern side is interesting because this line has moved a little bit toward Northwestern. Midweek, early in the week, it was at 12.5. As of Thursday night, it's down to 10.5. Maybe they think either Northwestern can score or they're going to shut Michigan down, or this game. Maybe it's just because this game might move a little bit slower with all of the running. But Preston Stone, he's been bad. I'm not going to say much more about him. Who I am going to talk about is Caleb Komolafe. He's been getting a ton of work lately, back-to-back 100-yard games. Also has 8 targets across those 2 games. Now, Hyman does rotate in, but Komolafe has been RB1, and Hyman was banged up last game, so we'll have to wait for that injury report. But at 5,400, for his involvement in this offense, he might get a low-owned guy at the running back position who could see upwards of 20 to 22 touches. Count me in for that just on volume alone. And then the wide receiver room, I don't really love the wide receivers, but Griffin Wild has just got to be on your radar because of his target share. And that's it. That's it. I'm not going to say much more about that. Next game, Arkansas at LSU, a pretty decent looking total, but how do these teams feel? They're both in potential letdown spots, but could they? I guess it could let down against each other. But Taylor Green is spendy. LSU struggled against Marcel Reed and Diego Pavia, and can put Taylor Green kind of in that same boat, similar rushing upside to those two guys. So there's no reason he can't do it here. And it's projected to be a competitive game. So if you're going to buy into this projection, high scoring SEC sort of track meet game, Taylor Green can certainly get there. He's a pillar of their offense. Mike Washington has had double-digit carries now in 7 straight games, and he's only averaged fewer than 4 yards a carry once in those games. Not to mention he's got 5 targets in 2 of the last 3 games as well. And now Braylon Russell's questionable. So if Mike Washington's the only guy back there and it's just going to be Green and Washington running the ball, another pivot off of some of these higher owned guys. I don't think Washington's going to garner the ownership like a guy like Jordan Marshall is, or a couple of guys we'll talk about later. Maybe that's your pivot in a game that could be high scoring and competitive. In the wide receiver room, Omega Blake did have a down game last time out, but he's still wide receiver 1. 6'3" is just a weird price. There's other guys in that range or cheaper than him. I feel like there's guys that you want to pay up for more, guys that you want to pay down in this range. But again, like I said, good overall game, but I don't know how much ownership is going to get to these guys. One guy that maybe is Raylan Sharp, because Jaylen Brown's still out and he's got 6 or more targets in 4 of the last 5 games. Sharp does. Those are probably the 2 main guys you're looking at. And don't forget Rohan Jones might end up with 2 catches for 110 yards and 2 touchdowns and a rushing touchdown. Remember that game? That was fun. On the LSU side, Frank Wilson said we'll see both Garrett Nussmeier and Michael Van Buren after Nuss got benched, but he said Nuss will probably get the start. He is probable on the report, so the fact that he's on the report maybe says something, but according to what Coach said, and we just believe everything coaches say, right? We're going to see Nuss first. I don't know if he can touch the quarterback situation, we don't know who's going to play the majority of the snaps. Maybe they'll split 50-50. But you just want to attack Arkansas through the air. I don't know how you do it with these quarterbacks in this situation, though. If you do want to lean that, if Nussmeier's going to get the start, maybe he'll just get off to a hot start and look really good early, and they'll keep him in the entire game. I don't think anybody's going to do that. I don't recommend it, but I don't think anybody's going to do it. The running back room, Caden Durham and Harlem Berry have pretty much been splitting snaps. Berry's just been getting more work and doing more with it. Durham's a little bit more involved in the pass game, but not much. So I think if you're playing a running back, it's probably Berry. In the wide receiver rooms, you can spin the wheel with these receivers. Berry and Brown's probably been the guy the last few games. So he's probably the safest if I were to pick one. Trey'Dez Green had been on a tear, but after a couple of drops last game against Alabama, Bauer Sharp just kind of turned into the tight end du jour there. I might go back to Green in a bounce back if nobody else is going to do it, though. Aaron Anderson's probable to play. Another situation where it kind of waters down the wide receiver room. And Xavier Thomas has obviously been involved as well, some of it with Anderson, some of it without. It's a team total that you kind of want to attack, but there's so much split usage, even at the quarterback position. It makes these guys harder clicks. So if nobody's going to go to this game and we get a competitive, high-scoring game, like I said, pivot city, why not? West Virginia at Arizona State. On the West Virginia side, West Virginia, Mountain Mama. We got Scotty Fox, who I don't know if he's that good. He did not impress me against Colorado. He's still cheap, though. It's just a tough matchup. And I mean, if you can't get it done against Colorado, I don't know if you can get it done on the road against Arizona State. But cheap option. Diori Hubbard is probable. It's a tough matchup for him, too, and he's priced up now. He did look really good, even on one leg, apparently, in the last game against Colorado. Maybe that's why Fox didn't look that great, too. I mean, the box score wasn't good, but even watching the game, it was Hubbard. Sincere Bowers still going to be involved some. Clay Ash was off the report Wednesday, but he was back on it as questionable Thursday, and that sort of trend tells me that I don't think he's going to play if he's trending that direction. So you're going to get the usage out of Hubbard that you could go there, but the running backs, the way it's shaping up on this slate, is kind of in no man's zone at 5,600. And these wideouts seem a little bit too expensive too. I mean, Vaughn is fine, Gallagher's fine. It's just a matter if you want to pay for these guys. That kind of leads me to Weimer maybe being the best option because he's basically mid-price. But we've already talked about a mid-price wide receiver back up here with Katoris Hicks, who might project better than Jeff Weimer. They're both wide receiver 3-ishes. It kind of kind of switches off with the West Virginia. I think maybe you just avoid it altogether, especially with just an 18-point team total. But LOL at Jeff Sims' price, man. Coming off a 228-yard rushing game, I'm not scared of West Virginia's defense. Are we really playing chalk Jeff Sims? I mean, probably. It just feels weird. Safety net Sims is what one of our guys called it in our team meeting this week. But 7,400 Jeff Sims, it's going to be tough to avoid in the cash streets. GPPs, I mean, okay, so I got some ways to maybe play him in GPPs if you want to. We'll discuss here. Raleek Brown is still getting the volume. He just hasn't been super effective. He's only got 1 touchdown in the last 6 games. But if everybody's going to zig to Zims, maybe we zag to Raleek Brown. Or play them together. Why not? You can do a Jeff Sims Raleek Brown stack here. And with Brown's price and other running backs in that price range, I doubt anybody's going to play Sims like that, or very few people are going to play Sims with Raleek Brown. There's still no Jordan Tyson in the wide receiver room. Shimon Mateer has had 6 or more targets in 6 of the last 7 games. No big deal, right? But his price is getting up there. But again, stack him with Sims. If everybody's going to play Sims naked, pair him with a pass catcher, pair him with a running back. It's not about who you play, it's how you play him. Where have you heard that before? McLean and Moss are on the field enough that, I mean, you could consider these guys. McLean did have the spike game. All of these guys certainly capable of catching a touchdown. But I do love this matchup for Arizona State. I just think there's so many ways you can play Jeff Sims and still get a little bit different with the rest of these guys, pairing them with them. Oklahoma at Alabama. Can Oklahoma pull off the upset for the 2nd year in a row? Maybe. I mean, the difference is this game's in Tuscaloosa. That one was in Norman. John Mateer does have the bye week to get a little bit more healthy. And the last time we saw him, he did get the running game going a little bit more. Again, another quarterback in the 8Ks you got to make a decision on. It's not a great team total, tough road matchup. Maybe we get moneyline Mateer. Maybe we don't. I don't know. It's tough to say because Alabama's been good, but John Mateer's pretty good too. This running back room, Xavier Robinson has looked pretty stellar, and it seems like he's taken over the backfield. But Joe Barnes and Taylor Tatum are both questionable on the report. That's an upgrade because those guys haven't played in a while. I don't know how much it's going to factor in. But if we get Xavier Robinson at 4,400 owning this backfield, I think you got to take a look at him. And then in this wide receiver room, it's been Isaiah Satania getting the target share for the most part. Deion Burks was a lot more involved against Tennessee. But again, this Oklahoma team has had another week to get healthy, and Keontez Lewis is now upgraded to probable, and he was pretty involved before he went down. But he went down before Giovanni Gibson was healthy. So now with all of these guys in the mix, I don't know if we're going to see all of the usage funnel to these top 2 guys, Satania and Burks. It almost makes me want to wait and see what this offense looks like with the wide receiver room healthy again. And again, tough matchup. So that kind of points me even more and more toward kind of avoiding this Oklahoma side. But as soon as I say it, that's maybe when we're going to get a spike game from one of these guys in the low-owned dart just gets there. On the Alabama side, Ty Simpson, he's expensive. This is a really tough matchup. But Oklahoma's really only faced 2 solid passing teams, and they both threw for 300. Tennessee just nearly threw for 400 yards on them. So there is still some upside here for Simpson. Especially, I mean, Simpson looks great if they continue to run the ball poorly and all they can do is throw. Oklahoma's run D is really good, so unless they can find a spark, Jam Miller, Kevin Riley, Daniel Hill, all of them, maybe they get involved in the pass game, but it's hard to play these running backs right now with the way Alabama's been playing. But that also means that Ryan Williams, Jeremy Bernard, they're still getting some. Their production is pretty balanced with each other, but if Alabama's going to throw a ton, I like them. But Lazier Brooks might be the best option because he's only 4K. And after missing a few games, or maybe just missed one game, just the South Carolina game, he was right back to 7 targets last week. And if you put that with his previous 3 games, it's 19 targets over the last 3 games. So they're getting the freshman involved. So 4K, I don't mind him. Maybe a good stack option with Simpson because Simpson's more expensive and Lazier Brooks gets you a little bit of value. It's going to be a good real-life football game. How much is there for DFS? I don't think it's as good for DFS as it is for real-life viewing. But stranger things have happened. Oklahoma beat Alabama last year. Central Florida at Texas Tech. I am not going to talk much about the UCF side. Taven Jackson's off the report. He's going to start. Moving on. Miles Montgomery's questionable. Stacey Gage is already ruled out. So pretty much just leaves Jaden Nixon left in this backfield. But how much do we care? Texas Tech paid for that defense, and it's working. I don't think you can play UCF against this team. Again, maybe you can luck sack your way into a couple of scores, like both of these projected touchdowns being to one wide receiver or one running back. But is it? I don't know that it's worth it. Not on a slate like this. On the Texas Tech side, big boy team total with 36 projected on the implied. Baron Morton was in a boot earlier this week at practice, but he's still on track to play. He's listed as probable, but they might not need him to do much in this game. And that kind of makes me glad he's priced up in the 8K, so I just don't even have to worry about it. And if Texas Tech gets up, we know they want to run the ball. Cam Dickey is the same price as Baron Morton. If you're going to do a side-by-side comparison, I think I'd lean Dickey just because of the volume. And I wouldn't be surprised if Texas Tech runs the ball 45 times. Now, one thing that could get Baron Morton there is Jacoby Williams catching an 80-yard screen pass and maybe a long touchdown to one of his receivers. But Jacoby Williams is just underpriced again. I know he didn't quite get there last game, but at 5K, I think you still take a chance on him here. I mean, he's solid value, all formats, cash, GPP, single entry, you name it. I think he's still on your board. And then in this wide receiver room, Caleb Douglas had a sick touchdown catch last week. But again, more spread out usage in this wide receiver room. They're all in the 5K to 6K range. It just makes them harder to play, but that also means you're probably going to get an ownership discount on a team with a 36-point team total. If they get there through the pass game early and you have the right wide receiver, it could be the difference in a GPP. But I really do like the running game for Texas Tech here. And, Williams, if everybody's going to play him in cash, just pivot to Cam Dickey and find – I mean, it's not a true pivot. They're $3,100 difference, but you know what I mean. Maybe play Dickey instead of Williams. Virginia at Duke, another good-looking competitive game and high total. We'll have to see if Chandler Morris plays. He's in the concussion protocol. It sounds like he's on track to play, but the concussion protocol can be weird. You can get a setback at any time. Luckily, we have the injury report. We'll have his availability. Just list him in or out, please. But if he goes, he's in a great spot. Duke's pass defense is not good. It's not. So Chandler Morris, 8,200, solid price. A lot of 8K range quarterbacks this week. We got one on the other side of this game too. Jamari Taylor might be the workiest of all workhorse backs outside of maybe Jordan Marshall. 7,700 is a fair price because Noah Vaughn and Xavier Brown are out again, and Whaley just hasn't been involved enough to talk me off of Jamari Taylor. Duke's run defense is better than their pass defense, but honestly, it's not really saying much. Passing game, Trell Harris has been pretty consistent as of late, draws a really good matchup. You get a good discount on Cam Ross. Edrine is still on the field. Ennis has been getting more work with no Conway Twitty in the tight end room. So there's several ways to stack this UVA team. Like I said, I do like it a lot more if Chandler Morris plays, but there's a lot to love on this side, and as much as there is to love on the Virginia side, there's just as much to love on the Duke side. Mensah's price back down, roller coaster for him. 65 one week, 95 the next, now back down to 8. Maybe they'll figure it out by the end of the season. We're only in week 12. They still got time. But this price is a lot easier to swallow. Now, Virginia's pass defense has looked better since they played Louisville, but they faced the likes of Washington State, North Carolina, Wake Forest. Mensah's in a good spot with a high team total here. Nate Shepard, our guy Hamhock called it last week in our Discord that he really liked Nate Shepard, set up for a big game and came to fruition. Got to love that when that hits. But it seems like he's taking a hold of this backfield, so the usage is there. If we continue to get that kind of volume, I don't mind him at 8K. If everybody else is going to be playing Marshall and Jamari Taylor on the other side of this game, why not play Shepard? He's in a good spot, and if his ownership is down, I'll take the leverage. In the wide receiver room, still Cooper Barkate and Quayshawn Brown as the primaries for pass catchers. Andrew Anthony has seen an uptick in target share lately, and he's 3,700. So another value wide receiver makes it easy to stack somebody in the 8Ks like Mensah. And then Higgins and Hazley are still involved. Outside of Barkate, this is where you get the value in the Duke stack, though. Any one of these guys after him, it's just Barkate gets so much of the target share. If you can afford the 7,100, he's still the top option in this Duke offense. North Carolina State at Miami. Tough matchup for CJ Bailey. But, hey, a 7K quarterback. I think you can get to this Miami team through the air. It's just a matter of if North Carolina State can get to them through the air. I wouldn't be surprised if he has a decent DFS game just because of the way it's scripting out. They're going to probably have to throw the ball a lot, and he can run if he needs to. This running back room, I don't know how much we're going to target it, but we do have to watch the status of Hollywood Smothers. He did miss the last game, but Miami hasn't allowed more than 3.8 yards per carry to anybody this year. And both of these guys, Smothers and Scott, are involved in the pass game. We're just like with Scott, we're not getting the backup running back discount that we typically would, when there's a questionable lead back in the room. So I don't know how much of this running back room I'm interested in. The wide receiver room, again, another team that spreads the ball out a lot. Even if they do have success, it's going to be difficult to pinpoint which guy it's going to be. Jolie and Rogers do seem like the top two guys, and Jolie's questionable. So maybe you could get some Noah Rogers leverage, and at 3,300 for a wide receiver one, I don't hate it, but it could be Anderson, Grimes, or Hoffman too. If North Carolina State scores, I do got to put that caveat in. They're projected to score 20.5 points. I don't know how they're going to get that half point, but you know what I mean. If it funnels to one of these guys, it could be another leverage spot. Just a very tough matchup. On the Miami side, Carson Beck, a quarterback in the 7Ks on this slate, that seems to be a value. So he's in a solid matchup. Hasn't shown much of a ceiling this year, but teams have been absolutely torching NC State through the air. So I don't hate Carson Beck at 7,700. And if you're going to play Carson Beck, Malachi Toney is a receiver you can stack him with. He's finally priced back up, but with Beck's price staying under control, it makes for an easier stack. CJ Daniels, though, now off the report. So he's fine to stack as well, get a discount from Malachi Toney. But that could also be a reason to play Malachi Toney if CJ Daniels is going to take some of the attention off for that defense and Toney's left more a little bit on an island. In terms of what happens after that, it's going to be tougher to pinpoint. I think JoJo Trader has earned his spot in this rotation, and he's only 3,100. So if you want to pay up for these running backs, you might need a guy like Trader in your lineup to help do that. Keelan Marion, Josh Moore might be the guys that are squeezed with Daniels back, but Tony Johnson is also still out. Not that he was a mainstay in this passing game, but just having fewer mouths to feed is really these top three guys that I'm interested in. I don't know if I'll get to Marion and Moore, but again, I wouldn't be surprised. But the biggest risk to these receivers is Miami running the ball more. I mean, even in blowouts, we've seen Miami throw the ball 30 or more times. But I do think getting ahead and running the ball just leads me to Marty Brown, 4,500. Mark Fletcher's out again, and Brown got a bulk of the work. Jordan Lyle did start. So you see he started the game. He may start this game. He very well could too, but Marty Brown has been getting a bulk of the workload behind Fletcher and now without Fletcher. We did see some Gerard Pringle, so we could see him in this game too, especially if Miami gets up early. But this backfield is all cheap. Marty Brown being the top guy. I don't know if you take a shot on Lyle or Pringle, but I wouldn't be surprised if one of those guys finds the flame emoji next to their DraftKings score. Iowa USC is going to be rainy in Los Angeles. Some forecast models show it's going to start raining on Friday morning and not stop until Sunday. And I don't know if you know this, but the Coliseum is a natural grass field. I don't think that hurts Iowa, though. I think that might help Iowa because Iowa doesn't throw the ball. And when they do, they don't throw it very far. So Mark Gronowski, I think, is actually an okay cheap option this week. You're not playing him for his arm. He has at least one rushing touchdown in every single game. And let me check my probability notes. It seems like the data tells me it's probably going to happen again. Of course, now that I say that, this will be the 1 week that he doesn't. But Iowa's running game might get a little bit of a bump here just because they're not going to be able to throw even more. And Kamari Moulton's part of that running game. He had Caleb Johnson type numbers last week in terms of volume. Not super efficient, but an easier matchup this week against USC than it was against Oregon. And USC's run defense has been a little bit easier to move the ball on the back half of the season. So he's a solid option in the 6K range. Other guys will mix in, but it's really Gronowski and Moulton. And I'm not going to talk about these wide receivers. Not going to mention one name. I'm going to skip right, scroll. Sweet. Saving some time with the Iowa passing game. On the USC side, Jaden Maiev has been up and down. When he's up, it's great. When he's down, it's not. I don't love the matchup here. Rutgers is still the only team that's thrown the ball on Iowa, which is weird. But again, with the weather forecast, we'll obviously have to watch it closer to the slate locking and closer to the 2:30 games locking, 2:30 Lord's time zone. Don't at me about the Eastern time zone. I don't care. I care about you. I just don't care about what time it is. But it's just the weather, Iowa's defense, the roller coaster nature of Maeva's game for DFS this year is kind of what's leading me to stray away from him. But King Miller, on the other hand, is the same price as Maeva, but he's been just an absolute stud since taking over this backfield. Oregon just ran for 261 yards, and it wasn't on volume. They averaged more than 7 yards a carry. So even at this price, I think you're giving King Miller a look. And if people are going to funnel to those 7K running backs, this could be a pivot. There's no reason King Miller can't outscore Jamari Taylor. It's very possible. So again, play the game, get your leverage on players like Miller that we've seen the volume from before. Makai Lemon, Jacoby Lane, the primary focus of this passing game. I think the weather's going to have an impact, but if they are going to be able to throw the ball, it's probably going to be to these two guys. Maybe the weather gives Lake McCree a little bit of a bump just because he's a tight end. You don't have to throw the ball as far, and he's a big dude. But if you're playing this passing game, you're probably still looking at Lemon and Lane. It's good. I'm not. It might be sneaky. You know what? I'm going to call it a maybe sneaky game just because Iowa has shown the ability to put up points when they need to, except when they lose to Oregon. Penn State at Michigan State. Penn State, great game against Indiana. Do you think they keep the momentum? I don't know. This seems like a letdown spot on the road against Michigan State, a team that sucks. Everything on the drawing board tells me letdown, but we got to play the game. And Penn State still has a lot of good players on their team. Ethan Grunkemeyer is not, it's a solid matchup. He's just 8,200, and we've already talked about all of the other AK quarterbacks. I don't know why you'd click Grunkemeyer's name. Maybe you want a guy at 1% ownership in a good matchup. But the running back room I am still interested in. Katron Allen has been the constant this season. He's been good in almost every game, but you get a major, major discount on Nick Singleton, who just had a huge game against Indiana. Again, great matchup for both. I think you can consider both. They want to keep their draft stock high. I don't know that a down game against Michigan State is going to affect that too much. But I do like these runners, and Trevor Pena is just simply underpriced. One of those weird scenarios you could even get away with a running back wide receiver stack and not play the quarterback just because of the way pricing shapes up. But it's like, I don't mind throwing a few Penn State guys in your player pool here. On the Michigan State side, we have a quarterback battle. Aiden Chili's got benched against Minnesota, so it was Alessio Milivojevic. Let's take a moment to celebrate. I did practice that one, and I think I nailed it. Milivojevic got the start, like I said, against Minnesota, and he looked pretty good. And if you look at these two quarterbacks, they're very different. Chili's has more of the – I know it's Charles. I'm just hungry. He has more of the rushing upside. Milivojevic is kind of the pocket passer. I've seen him described as a sniper pocket passer, which I can believe he did. Like I said, he chucked that pigskin. So at 6,100, maybe the best value quarterback on the slate. I know there's not very many because everybody else is priced in the AKs, but Milivojevic, don't ignore the fact that he can do a lot to help your lineup builds if you want to pay up at running back and wide receiver. In the running back room, we'll have to check the status of Mekhi Frazier. He missed against Minnesota. Without him, Elijah Tolliver finally had the game we thought he was going to have earlier in the season. Brandon Tullis is still going to split in all likelihood, but Penn State's a much better run defense than the Gophers. Hate to admit it, but it's true. Got to face the facts. Minnesota's not a very good run defense. Probably not going to these guys, though. The wide receiver room, Nick Marsh is an obvious name when it comes to Michigan State, but he's just expensive. And when you get him at 6K and you see guys like Amari Kelly at 3.3 who had 3 more targets and 4 more catches than Marsh with Milivojevic at quarterback, I don't know how you take that $2,700 price jump to Nick Marsh. And Rodney Bullard had a huge increased role in the game against Minnesota. So at these prices, I don't mind Bullard and Kelly as one-offs in this game, especially what a weird stack. You could do like a Singleton, Pena, Mari Kelly, Milivojevic stack and pay up everywhere else. It's gross, but tell me it's not going to work. Tell me this game, it might. I think it's a great way to get some of these higher price guys all in the same lineup over the rest of the slate. But that's going to do it for Week 12 preview show. Again, I think there's a lot of sneaky spots here, whether it's the Notre Dame-Pittsburgh game, you think Pittsburgh keeps it close. Northwestern, everybody's going to ignore them, but they got a stud running back. There's a lot of different ways you can go on this slate, and I think it's going to be pretty easy to get different. We're going to see some ownership funnel to these guys like Jordan Marshall. We're going to see ownership funnel to Jeff Sims. So there's plenty of opportunity to pivot off of those guys. But that's going to do it for the show. We're going to end the show the same way we do every single week. Rule number 1, college football is fun. Enjoy the process. Enjoy the sweat. Enjoy building your lineups. Just be thankful that we have the opportunity to watch college football on TV, and even more thankful that we get to play college football daily fantasy sports. Most importantly, do not ever take a single day for granted. We never know when our last one's going to be, and it's never enough. But that's going to do it for this week's college football show. I will see you in the streets this weekend. Let's go out there, ship one for the big guy.